evening, everybody. I'm Andy from Natural Family Planning Service, and welcome all of you to today's this evening's talk. And we have been sharing Natural Family Planning Service, a life for family life. Let us just start by having a short prayer. Begin our talk. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, we thank you for this time that we have together to share about the Natural Family Planning Service and your plan for all of us in our families, in our relationships, where you are the God and center of all, and you give us the love that we love our families, our children, and people around us. In this sharing that we have from the couples here, speak your message of love to each of the people here. May this spread through Christ our Lord. Amen. So let me introduce myself. I'm Andy Lee. I'm one of the members of the Natural Family Planning Service, and I'm a father of 4 children, and I've been with the Natural Family Planning Service for many years. You won't believe it, I'm one of the youngest members. Okay, I'll just introduce our panel here, starting with Ola and Jen. I'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Poland and
Genevieve.
We've been teaching NLP for quite a long time. So we've been married 36 years. We have got 2 boys. They're now actually men, 32 years old and 30. We were first introduced to NLP at the MPC in 1985.
Okay, and our next couple here, we have Imisha and Anne.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Andy. Hi, everyone. Good to see all of you here. We're here to kind of share our story and our journey with NFP. For us, we've been married 33 years, have 2 children, one 28 and one 18 years old. So we have been NFP instructors for as long as we've been married, having been qualified as instructors on the day that we got married in 1988. We taught at Nativity Center, and I was understudying there for quite a while.
So when maybe I'll just add, when we got our flat in Tampines, we started a new center at Holy Trinity for those who are living in the East. Dr. John Lim from Family Life Society also approached us to teach at FLS. So I see a very young crowd. You probably don't know FLS at Sliggy Road. So it used to be at Sliggy Road and not Highland Road. Yeah, so that's many years ago. So the purpose of that was for the outreach to non-Catholics as well as to the general public. So for those, so currently we are teaching at Holy Spirit Church, and because of the COVID situation, we either teach at home or having Zoom sessions.
Okay, so NFP, as we call it, some people think it's national family planning, the government's way of making sure we have a big population. But NFP for us stands for Natural Family Planning, and it stems from this very important foundation as Catholics that we learn and we strongly hold on to. And you find that in today's world, this simple teaching that what God has joined, unitive and procreative aspects of the sexual intimacy, has been broken in many places and in many situations. And this simple teaching of the Church, where the spouses' union achieves the twofold end of marriage, the good of the spouses themselves and the transmission of life, has created so many problems in our world today. Yep. In the CCC, we know that the 2 meanings of values of marriage cannot be separated without altering the couple's spiritual life and compromising the goods of marriage and the future of the family. And that is what we do as a group since many years ago. We help to uphold this teaching of the Church for the good of family and for the building of the couple relationship, as well as the procreative aspect of having children. So NFP started not just with the billing method, but in the past there was a need to regulate and manage birth, and many methods have been used before. starting from the rhythm method, the calendar method, the basal body temperature method. And you won't believe it, today in the secondary school textbooks, they are still talking about the rhythm method being an unreliable natural method. But we have progressed far beyond from then till today, the Billings ovulation method. It's a Creighton model and Nepro technology. And the Billings ovulation method is a very straightforward, simple to learn method that every couple, every lady can learn. Yep. Okay. So because of this need, and because this has progressed over the years, we have this John and Evelyn Billings, who are the pioneers of the Billings method. The method is named after them. And they came to Singapore in 1973 to teach our first groups of instructors, nurses, doctors, couples, and they picked up the method and started to promote this method. And this is where John and Evelyn Billings came back to Singapore in 2003 to visit, and these are our instructors in their younger days. You can see, but they're not so old. They still, where they are happily being with this, the originators of the method. Yeah, and that's Poland meeting John and Evelyn Billings. That must be a very happy moment. I don't have the chance. They have since passed on, and I believe they continue to pray for all those who are teaching and using this method. Yeah. Okay, and not forgetting Father Dan, who is very much championing families all his life from the Redemptorists and also Family Life Society, where he has been serving and looking after families, couples, relationships, and he's even written a book on this. Yeah, and if you recognize who is there, he's one of our instructors in her younger days. Okay, so these are like people like you all, when younger days, they discovered this. I would call it a treasure, and they continue to share. So this is the NFP community in the younger days. I recognize many of the people, but if you join us, you will see many of them in this community. Yeah. And this was training with the nurses. So the method was taught to nurses, to doctors, and all these people help to share this method, yeah, and help to reach out to couples who are trying to manage their achieving and postponing pregnancy. Yeah, okay. So more photos from the past, from the time where, yeah, we learned, and even the nuns give of their time to teach couples. Many of the sisters, yeah, over there, they strongly understand the church's teaching and want to share this method. Okay, yeah. And in 2015, we had a reunion, and we had Janet, who is a nurse, Sister Rosalind, Sister Maria from the days, and they come back to reunion with all of us in 2015. And Dr. Victor and Vivian, I'm not sure if you know them, they were a couple that really embraced this method and taught it. And later on, they were in the Medjugorje talks to promote. And Dr. Ian is one of the key persons, Snodgrass, who promoted this method as well. And our current president is Dr. Douglas Ong. And in the earlier slide, you saw that Father David Garcia is our spiritual director. And Dr. David, Father Anthony, always help to share and teach this method. Father Anthony will always say, couples were having a pregnancy as if they were having an accident, as if they were being hit by a car, because they didn't know and understand the body and the signs that it gave to us. So that was the message that he always say, NFP, learn it and use it. Okay, I'd like to invite Paula and Genevieve now to share a bit of their own personal journey, how they come into learning and using the method.
Sure. Thanks, Andy. We're just going to share with you some of our journey through NFP. So I must say that as I mentioned, we were first introduced to NFP in 1985 when we got married. Before that, I have no clue of what natural family planning or what methods are available that time before we joined the NPC. NFP, as you know, is a program and a service that's offered at NPC for couples who are preparing for marriage. That was when we started our journey, learning the Billings method at the center at Blessed Sacrament Church.
For me, I embraced the Catholic faith a year before getting married. So being a young Catholic, I thought I would follow all the church's teaching, and I told myself not to be selective. So that's how we signed up our first session of family planning. And after learning this Billings ovulation method, it has changed my perception, and I know that with the knowledge I have gained, I understand my fertility more. Because before that, I would just take note of when my menses will come and when it would end. But after learning this, I noticed that I know myself, I understand my body even more. So wanting to be, that time being a young Catholic, I want to be part of the Catholic family. So, of course, looking for ministry to join will be the next step. So and with the encouragement from our mentors for maybe doing a good job in charting, it gave us the confidence and assurance that we should share the method, this beautiful method, with young couples preparing for marriage.
Why do we want to share NFP with others? First, in learning the method, we felt the strong desire, as what Jen mentioned, to want to share this knowledge. We also find that NFP strengthens marriage. How is that? When couples make the effort to come and learn and are receptive, that's important, it shows mutual respect and acceptance for the other. So after we were married, we understudied at the center for some time before we attended a course and sitting for a test to assess our knowledge and our proficiency to teach. It is important that we teach accurately, besides knowing just the method and how to chart. So having been qualified as instructors after we passed the test, we started teaching at Blessed Sacrament Center and have been there since. In the course of our instructing couples, we have experienced many fulfilling moments, especially when couples learn faithfully and believing in what we impart and abiding by the church's guidance. We have also seen many non-Catholics like Muslims, Hindus, and even at one time we had a hearing impaired couple. You can imagine that during the session it was quite muted because most of the instructions were written on paper. So there were times when teachings weren't so easy and sometimes even disappointing, especially when either one of the couples resent being told what to do. So some question the teachings of the church and also the effectiveness and the efficacy of the method.
Okay, my experience, NFP actually teaches us to be humble and trusting in the wisdom of the church's teaching. Okay, let me explain. Because by knowing the method so well, so after we got married, like most newlyweds, we wanted to procrastinate having the first child. So it's like dictating to God when I'm ready. So don't tell me to start yet. So with the knowledge that we have in about this family planning, so we use the knowledge to postpone the pregnancy, and it seems like we even choose the month of the birth, which I would want to pick, you see. So is that so bad or is it negative? So we had a bit of struggle too.
Yeah, actually first we must remember that we are just co-creators and must not be the ones to dictate to the Creator when or what we want. Yeah, it happened, as Jen mentioned, when she wants to have a December child because she's born in December, and that's when we wanted to start a family. So in the initial cycles, we diligently followed the guidelines of the method, the science, is effectively delaying pregnancy. Then, when the time comes for Jen to conceive, you guess what? There was no conception. Okay, so why? How come? What happened? We know her fertile phase so well, and we even had the best knowledge of pinpointing when ovulation will happen to the nearest day, yeah, with knowing the method. So all the efforts after the unsuccessful cycles, months, did not turn fruitful. I'll let Jen continue with the story.
Okay. As I mentioned earlier, I was thinking to myself, not ready, so I will delay getting pregnant. So once after our first anniversary, then I will just tell God, okay, I'm ready now. So with the knowledge that I have, so I was like very confident that I will be able to conceive easily because I'm able to pinpoint when is the fertile, when is the date of ovulation. So my desire to have a child was so strong that I didn't even realize that the anxiety of wanting a child, this anxiousness might have also be an impediment to conception. So after some time of trying, missed periods, and I'm a bit desperate in that sense. So we tried to attend more regular mass, petitions, and lots trying to pray for a child. Until later on, we spoke to one nun, Sister Bernadette, and we shared with her our wish to start a family. So Sister Bernadette spoke with us, and she gave us a model of a fetus and told us to pray and leave it to the will of God, so which we did. But after praying, we felt so relieved and tell ourselves that we leave it to the hands of God. So, and all this, going to for daily masses and petitions, all these plans and efforts did not put the plan didn't work out. So when Reuben, our firstborn, was conceived, it was the time we least expected it. So this the trust that we should have, because God knows when is the time, when you're ready, He will bless us.
So we share this often with couples we meet to remind ourselves that we need to know who's in charge when a new life is concerned. That is not us, but God. So we need to be pro-life to procreate. When one maintains a contraceptive mentality, like only wanting to postpone and not get pregnant, a child is reduced to no more than a commodity to be owned. Yeah? A child should be gotten through the unitive conjugal action of the parents expressed in unconditional love.
Yeah. So indeed, one of the greatest lessons we share with couples is in God's time. If it doesn't happen within the first few months, be patient and continue. And that's what we do also as instructors. Now we go on. I'd like to invite Ignatius and Anne to share how they joined NFP and some of the journeys that they had.
Okay, so for myself, actually, I consider myself very fortunate and blessed to actually have learned NFP at age 15. Credit must go to Mrs. Vivian Wee and Dr. Victor Wee, who were actually the first few who were trained to teach the Billings ovulation method in Singapore. So she had come to my school, that time I was in IJ, to share with us about our cycles and being aware of my fertile and infertile days. So I basically went home with this piece of paper, and from there I actually just started charting. And it was, to me, just for interest, to find out when my periods would come every month. And to me, that was quite amazing. So because I was so inspired at that age, in my early 20s, I actually approached the center and said, hey, can I be an instructor, you know? Then they looked at me and said, but when is your wedding date? Are you engaged? You know, so I was neither. So in the end, I didn't, you know, start teaching there yet. But eventually, I did join, you know, the Nativity and became an instructor there. So as Catholics, Ignatius and I knew that NFP was the right thing to do. And as a couple, we knew that this was the way we wanted to start our married life. So finally, we could put into practice what we had learned in theory.
I first met Anne in Catholic Junior College at 17 at a retreat. Got attracted, quite distracted, yeah. As Anne had already, you know, she was keen in teaching NFP, so I had no choice. I had to join her. But she had me to thank because she couldn't have taken lessons without me. So I guess we were already NFP converts even before we decided to get married. And our courtship was quite long, you know, since we were so young, right? Our courtship was 10 years. So, but I have her to thank, as teaching NFP as a couple allowed us to share both the ladies as well as the men's perspectives. You know, not just a one-sided thing where the lady comes and attend and learn how to chart, you know, and does our observation. So as a couple, we could do both. Apart from that, it is also an excellent couple ministry. So you all can, you know, come together and, you know, do God's work. Yeah.
So for myself, initially we used NFP to postpone pregnancy as we wanted to enjoy the first few years of our married life. Plus, we were living with my parents. So we set a target to conceive before 30, which I did. But unfortunately, it was not meant to be because I miscarried after 8 weeks. So we always say our plan may not be God's plan. Then began our journey to find out what was wrong with me or us. To cut a long story short, we found a gynae who was able to diagnose me with a condition called endometriosis. So went for keyhole surgery, and eventually we conceived at 32. That was 5 years after our marriage. One funny story was that we gave birth to a daughter, but all the ultrasound scans showed that it was a boy. So we had picked everything for a boy, you know, even the name. And then suddenly on the day of the delivery, he was pulled aside and said, oh, it's a girl. You know? We always share this funny story because we think it's hilarious. Then I had rather irregular cycles. And a few years after the first birth, I was diagnosed with a cyst and then again had to go for another operation. Went through a second miscarriage at age 36, but eventually conceived our second child, a boy, at age 42. So considered quite high risk. But we had attended marriage encounter prior to that, and to us was indeed a little miracle, you know. And we also have to thank our family members, especially my father-in-law who used to pray to St. Gerard. And I think it's very powerful because, I mean, really it saw us through a safe pregnancy and eventually a delivery. So for us, knowing Billings really saw us through difficult fertility issues. And the good thing is, I mean, being aware of my charts and my cycles, you know, helped me through every stage of my life. So like pre-pregnancy, post-pregnancy, and later in life, premenopause. So I cannot stress and emphasize enough on the importance and the support of Ignatius in my life, because I couldn't have done all this or gone through all these experiences without his support.
Thank you. Our daughter is a tomboy. Helping couples to achieve pregnancy is the greatest joy in teaching NFP for us. We just share a couple of stories that we thought, you know, are quite heartwarming. For those, we noticed you all are all quite young. Do you all know, are you all aware of natural family planning? Have you all attended already, is it? No, married already? No, okay. Okay, so for those who are already aware, or maybe are not aware, the Billings ovulation method helps you to identify your patterns of fertility and infertility. So there was this couple that came to us, and they were trying to conceive and they were trying for about a year unsuccessfully. So she went to a gynae, and the gynae just gave very simple instructions. He said, try having sex between day 10 and day 14 of your cycle, probably implying that she had a 28-day cycle, a normal cycle. So they were wondering, hey, how come still cannot get pregnant, after so long? We've been taking the gynae's advice. So then when when they came to us, they started charting. And what we found out was that actually her cycles were much longer, and her fertility patterns and peak in ovulation is a little bit later. So it was just simple advice, We just told them, shift your days of intimacy later, not 10 to 14, And lo and behold, in 3 months, they managed to conceive. Yeah, it was a simple solution, but, Billings do help you in such occasions.
Another situation we had was this couple came to us not wanting to conceive a child so soon after marriage. So, and also the lady had some medical issues. So the wife did not want to get pregnant, especially, during the honeymoon. So I remember I received a WhatsApp message from her asking, can or cannot, that kind of thing. Yeah. So later on, they were trying to conceive and then were not successful, so became very anxious. So what we did was we continued to see them to help them identify the best days to achieve pregnancy. So with the extra lessons that they had, thankfully now they have a baby girl. Yeah.
So what keeps us going? We have been instructors for 33 years. So we are glad that you all are here. Maybe you all can help us in this ministry too. Archbishop has often reminded us of the dangers of secularism and relativism. For this reason, NFP is even more relevant and needed today, if you reflect on it. When every act of intercourse is free, total, faithful, and fruitful, as a couple, you will experience the complete physical, emotional, and spiritual bond, that builds a marriage. Like how two become one, Father Garcia always gives this analogy, they are like 4 pillars, If you sit on a chair with four legs, right, it is stable, Remove a leg, especially the fruitful one, and it gets unstable. Yeah. So it gives you an opportunity, especially for us, the men here, to learn to love the way God loves, to be self-giving instead of being controlled by, your selfish desires. Feel that contraception and the contraceptive mentality makes one more self-centered and selfish, while practicing NFP makes us a better person. Don't we all want to be a better husband and a better wife for each other? It is not the easiest method, okay? But if we challenge ourselves and with God's grace and mercy, this journey becomes more possible.
So for us, NFP is actually a very personal kind of method, in the sense that we teach each couple individually. So it's not like a classroom situation or anything like that. It takes time and has its challenges. However, we know that God has touched the hearts of these couples who have registered to come and learn, and that we are only His instruments. So by His grace, we hope our sharing will inspire them to see the light. Couples we teach actually form a very small percentage of all married couples. But when couples share and recommend their friends to us, the affirmation also helps us knowing that they have benefited from learning. So we actually ask you to pray for all couples that they will embrace instead of questioning the church's teachings. The church has been prophetic and has showed us the truth.
So I've been in many ministries, catechists and youth groups, and in the natural family planning ministry, I've met very life-giving couples and very much sharing God's love through the use of the method. And it gives us the best foundation for marriage. And our previous president, Dr. Ian, he also learned the method, and he the rules of the Billings method, and he also knowingly break the rules where he has his third child, you know. And at that time, he was very anxious because at that time, the third child was very disadvantaged in the system of finding schools and all that. But when the time came for his child to enter the school, the rules were changed, and you know, things took a turn for the better. So God provides, and we have to be put our trust and faith that He'll see us through. Yeah. And his third child has actually got, I think, 4 children now, you know, and God's love and fruitfulness continues in his family. So I very much wish he could be here with us today, but he could not. But many of his work in sharing with our instructors and teaching us, and also living his life by his example, inspires us to continue our work. So the NFP community goes forth. You can see our community continues to reach out to families, continue to work as a couple ministry. But for us, since 1973, where this method has been taught, in response to the changing times where the pill, the condom became widely accepted, and only with the 1968 Humanae Vitae teaching, which I encourage all of you to read, that the church puts very clearly a very firm anchor that Catholics can follow, and also a truth that we can follow that anchors us for family life beyond. In this world today, you see condoms sold as like candy in the supermarket, and the pill very easily dispensed. But as Catholics who want to live our life fully in the plan that God has for marriage and family life, NFP is the answer and the light for all of us. Yeah. So I invite Paula and Jen to share what is their wishes for the future of NFP going forward.
Thanks, Andy. So for many years, we've been trying to find helpers for our vineyard, but alas, you know, the harvest is rich, but the laborers are few. So it's not easy for anyone to commit to the work we do, no matter how much they want to, as it requires a lot of time, sacrifices, and pain, knowing the challenges that surrounds our ministry, our mission. But nothing is impossible as we trust in divine providence that the Lord will send helpers when we truly need them. All the same, we still need to continually look out and pray for people who are willing to share with us in this ministry. So come and join us as teachers, promoters, or supporters if you can't spare time to instruct, sharing with us what we truly believe to be a very important service to humankind. So indeed, though we do not get many volunteers in the past, we are blessed to have Andy and his wife, Xion, Bernadette and Matthew. These are among our younger members of our group.
So actually, joining NFP has also given us godchildren, because when the couples join us, we taught them the natural family planning. After their marriage, when they conceive, then they came to us, can you be our children's godparents? So we are rich in that sense that we have lots of godchildren. Okay, so actually, the NFP community, although we are a small community, but the bond among the teachers is very much alive and vibrant, especially when we get together. It's so much of fun and laughter. So that you know, looking at us, you will know that there's so much love in this community. So we do hope that more couples will embrace this way of life, to be more life-giving, and be co-creators, right? So as along with the team of this SG200, we hope that let's all together get together, ignite and shine with love and faith for the greater glory of God.
So going forward, we hope to reach more younger ladies. We have learned as early as possible. We hope to reach couples of all faiths that they can also learn this method. This method doesn't have just stick to Catholics only, but everybody can learn it as long as they want to embrace family life. And over the last year, we have been starting to teach on Zoom, so we are not bounded by any physical boundaries anymore, and we try to reach more couples that way. So maybe I'll ask Anne and Ignatius to share what is their hope for the future of NFP that they want to share with you.
I guess at that time when we were teaching at Family Life Society, what we, I guess, wish is that, like what Poland and Jen mentioned, if there are more volunteers that come in, then we would be able to expand our outreach. If we are able to actually share this method, with the non-Catholics, with the general public, it would be, I think, a wonderful mission to do this. Our couples, most of the time, just comes from marriage preparation course and from the Engage Encounter team. And now we have another one called the couple mentor. So among these three groups of married couples, engaged couples coming, these are the ones we generally see. But if we have the capacity to, do that next step, to go beyond just teaching within the Catholic community, even trying to just outreach to the our Protestant community, that would be a wonderful kind of ministry to outreach to, yeah.
So for us at Natural Family Planning, we continue to share our light with all of you and invite you all to discover it as you go along in your life journey. So we hope that for all of us here, that you can be the light as well, yeah, in our families and also to many of the families here in Singapore. Thank you.
Thank you.
And those who want to know what it actually entails, right? Next week I will run an introductory session to you couples who want to learn. But of course, all the ladies are welcome to me. And as John and Evelyn Bling said, it is knowledge every woman should have. Yeah. So we want to pass you some brochures that you all can take a look and feel free to chat with us. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
Thank you.